Arrogant millionaire's bet leads to unexpected love. Whispers filled the grand cathedral as Ethan Walker stood at the altar next to his bride Anna. The opulent hall was adorned with thousands of white roses and glittering chandeliers, but nothing could distract the guests from the odd pairing before them. Ethan, a tall, handsome millionaire in a custom-tailored suit, and Anna, a visibly nervous woman in a simple lace gown that did little to hide her plus-sized figure. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Is this for real?" one guest hissed under her breath. "I heard it's some kind of joke. Why else would Ethan marry her?" Another snickered. Ethan's jaw clenched upon hearing the whispers, yet he forced a bright smile as the officiant began the ceremony. Anna caught a glimpse of her reflection in the golden altar cross. Her cheeks flushed under the veil, not just from excitement, but from embarrassment. She could feel all those judgmental eyes on her, piercing through her confidence. This was supposed to be the happiest day of her life, but instead it felt like standing trial. As Ethan slid the ring onto Anna's trembling finger, his hand brushed hers. It was cold with sweat. To an outsider, he might have seemed nervous out of love or excitement, but inside, Ethan's emotions were a twisted knot of pride and panic. He stole a quick glance at the pews where his best friend Derek sat, grinning smugly. Derek gave a subtle nod, a reminder of the wager that had led to this moment. Ethan swallowed hard. He never thought it would go this far. What started as a reckless bet had brought them here to a wedding built on a lie. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife, and Ethan leaned in to kiss Anna. As their lips met, he heard a few guests gasp. One woman even dropped her champagne glass in shock. Ethan's smile faltered. He hadn't expected to feel something. Yet in Anna's teary eyes, as she looked up at him, equal parts hope and hurt, Ethan felt a strange twinge in his chest. Guilt? Regret? He wasn't sure. He only knew that nothing in his charmed life had prepared him for the consequences of this gamble. And neither he nor Anna realized that this was just the beginning of a journey that would change them forever. Just a month before the wedding, Ethan's life had been very different. In the mahogany-panelled lounge of the Titan Club, an elite haven for the ultra-wealthy, Ethan lounged on a leather sofa swirling a glass of aged scotch. At 32, he was at the top of his game, a tech mogul with movie-star looks and an arrogance to match. Surrounded by a circle of rich friends, he was in his element, bragging about his latest success. That evening, the topic had drifted to women and dating. Ethan smirked as he recounted his recent breakup with a supermodel girlfriend. "Has she put on 10 pounds and thought I wouldn't notice?" he scoffed, rolling his eyes. "I have standards. If I'm paying for those spa treatments and trainers, my girlfriend better keep up." A few of his friends chuckled, but one did not. Derek. Derek Archer had known Ethan since college. They were business partners and golfing buddies. But beneath Derek's easy grin was a streak of provocation. He enjoyed challenging Ethan's inflated ego. Derek leaned forward, a sly smile playing on his lips. "So, Mr. Perfection," he drawled, "are looks the only thing that matter to you? Would you ever date a woman who wasn't your usual type?" Ethan raised an eyebrow, not sensing the trap. "I have the right to be picky. I didn't work this hard to end up with someone who doesn't look the part," he replied, sipping his scotch. "Beauty indicates discipline and self-respect. Why settle for less?" Derek exchanged glances with a couple of the others. Sensing an opportunity to poke at Ethan's hubris, he shrugged. "I don't know, man. Sounds like you're afraid of a real challenge. You think you can buy love and mold a woman to your liking. But what if you had to actually love someone for who they are? Could you even do that?" Ethan bristled, sitting up. "What are you getting at, Derek?" With a mischievous glint, Derek nodded toward the bar, where a young heavy-set waitress was struggling to balance a tray of cocktails. She looked tired, maybe working a second shift. A few patrons snickered as she squeezed between chairs, accidentally bumping a table. The woman apologized softly, face red with embarrassment. Derek gestured subtly in her direction. Take her, for example. Anna, right? She's been serving us all night. Hard-working, sweet girl from what I hear, but obviously not your type, Ethan. Derek's tone was light, but his eyes dared Ethan to take the bait. I bet you couldn't date someone like her seriously, let alone marry her. Ethan let out a short laugh of disbelief. He looked over at Anna, plain, plus-sized, with a loose strand of brown hair escaping her ponytail as she hurried about. He hadn't paid her any attention beyond ordering drinks. The idea of dating someone like her had never crossed his mind. Marry her? Are you insane? Ethan scoffed. I have nothing against her, but let's be real. In my world, image is everything. She wouldn't fit in. Derek shrugged exaggeratedly. Sounds to me like you're admitting you couldn't do it. Maybe you're not as confident as you say, huh? The group was now fully tuned in, sensing the tension. Ethan hated being doubted. His pride was his weak spot. He narrowed his eyes at Derek. You think I can't charm a woman like that? That I can't follow through? Derek leaned back, smirking. Prove it, I dare you. In fact, I bet you $500,000 that you can't date and marry an overweight woman like Anna and stay married to her for at least 6 months. Gasps and laughter circled the lounge at Derek's bold proposition. Ethan's ego flared. $500,000 was a drop in the bucket for him. It wasn't about the money. It was about the challenge and his reputation. He finished his scotch in one gulp. Make it 1 million and you've got a deal, Ethan shot back, pulse quickening. Derek raised his glass, eyebrows lifting in surprise and glee. All right, 1 million, he agreed, but I set some terms. You have to genuinely woo her. She can't know about the bet. You have to actually marry her and play the loving husband for 6 months. If she leaves you, or you back out before then, you lose. Ethan smirked, reckless confidence coursing through him. Easy. I can make anyone fall in love with me. 6 months of playing house, and I'll have $1 million from you on top of it. He shook Derek's hand firmly, sealing the bet. Around them, their friends chuckled and whooped, half amused and half in disbelief at what Ethan was willing to do. As the night wore on, Ethan watched Anna move about the lounge with new interest. She was laughing politely at another patron's corny joke as she cleared their table. There was a kindness in her eyes and a warmth to her smile when she wasn't being mocked or jostled. Ethan brushed aside a fleeting pang of conscience. It's just a game, he told himself. I'll give her the fairy tale of a lifetime for 6 months, and then I'll quietly exit. No harm done. Besides, he reasoned, maybe he was doing her a favor. When else would a woman like her get to live in luxury as the wife of a millionaire? Derek raised his glass in a toast from across the room, and Ethan responded in kind with a confident grin. The wager was set, and Ethan had no intention of losing. What he didn't realize was that the true stakes were far higher than pride or money, and that this bet would spin lives out of control in ways he never anticipated. The very next evening, Ethan returned to the Titan Club, not as a patron, but as a man on a mission. He waited until Anna's shift ended, catching her by surprise as she exited the staff entrance into the cool night air. Anna stopped short, clutching her coat around herself. "Mr. Walker?" she asked hesitantly, recognizing him. It was unusual for a billionaire client to seek out a server after hours. Ethan flashed his most charming smile. "Please, call me Ethan," he said smoothly. "I realized I never properly thanked you for the wonderful service last night." Anna blinked in confusion. None of the club's elite clientele had ever bothered to thank her. She stammered that it was nothing, just her job. Undeterred, Ethan offered to walk her to her car. As they strolled under the streetlights, he struck up a conversation. He learned she worked 2 jobs and was taking night classes, and he feigned admiration for her work ethic. Anna, still wary, wondered why this wealthy, handsome man was even talking to her. Part of her feared it was a cruel joke. After all, she'd been the butt of jokes about her weight before. But Ethan was attentive and respectful, seemingly genuinely interested in her. Over the next week, Ethan made a point to drop by the club whenever Anna was working, always requesting her section. He left hefty tips and even sent a bouquet of roses to her apartment with a note, "Dinner with me, Ethan." Anna's heart nearly stopped at the gesture. She had never been courted like this. Her last boyfriend had been a college guy who dumped her because his friends teased him for dating a fat girl. Now this unbelievable man was pursuing her. She pinched herself to ensure she wasn't dreaming. Their first date was something out of a fairy tale. Ethan picked her up in a silver limousine and took her to the city's most exclusive rooftop restaurant. Anna had agonized over what to wear and whether she'd fit in at such a luxurious place. She settled on a modest black dress that flattered her curves. Still, as they stepped into the shimmering restaurant, she felt eyes on her, elegant women in designer gowns casting sideways glances and whispering. Sensing her anxiety, Ethan gently placed his hand over hers on the table. "Ignore them," he said softly, flashing a kind smile that made Anna's breath catch. "Tonight, it's just you and me." Under the stars and soft music, Ethan laid on the charm thick. He listened intently as Anna talked about her dreams of starting her own bakery one day, and he laughed at her witty observations about the city. She was intelligent and funny, something he hadn't expected. The guilt of deceiving her tugged at him now and then, but he buried those feelings deep. Ethan told himself it was all part of the act. Within weeks, Ethan had swept Anna off her feet. He showed up at her door with thoughtful gifts, a rare cookbook when he learned she loved baking, tickets to a play when she mentioned her favorite author. Each gesture made Anna glow. Against her better judgment, she felt herself falling for him. Her friends were cautious. One even warned, "It's too fast, Anna. People like him. It doesn't make sense." But Anna silenced their doubts. For the first time in her life, she felt seen and cherished by a man she adored. Ethan proposed barely 2 months after they started dating, on a sunny afternoon in the park where they had enjoyed many quiet walks. He hired a string quartet and arranged for rose petals along the path. When he knelt and opened a velvet ring box, Anna gasped. The diamond was enormous, sparkling like a star, but it was Ethan's tender gaze that brought tears to her eyes. "Anna," he said, voice gentle, "you are the kindest, most beautiful soul I've ever met. Will you do me the honor of being my wife?" Tears streaming down her cheeks, Anna managed to whisper, "Yes." As Ethan slipped a ring onto her finger and pulled her into his arms, a small crowd in the park applauded. It felt like a scene from a romantic movie, too perfect to be true. And in some ways, it was. Off to the side, Derek watched from behind a tree, arms crossed and a satisfied grin on his face. Everything was going according to plan. In the whirlwind weeks that followed, Ethan spared no expense in planning the wedding. He let Anna make many decisions to keep her happy. After all, he just needed to keep up the loving fiancé act until the deal was sealed. Anna was swept into a daze of cake tastings, dress fittings, and venue tours. She was blissfully unaware of the storm clouds gathering beyond her fairy tale. All she knew was that, in a matter of weeks, she would marry the man of her dreams. Meanwhile, Ethan kept telling himself the same lie. This is just for 6 months. It's all a game. Yet sometimes at night, as Anna slept with her head on his shoulder after an evening of planning, Ethan felt a strange tightness in his chest. He would stare at the ceiling, unsettled by an emotion he couldn't name, or refused to name. Finally, the wedding day arrived. Bring us back to where our story began, with Ethan and Anna exchanging vows in front of disbelieving eyes. The bet had been fulfilled. Ethan had married her. But as they walked hand in hand down the aisle as husband and wife, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that he had crossed a line from which there was no easy return. In the weeks after the wedding, reality settled in. Anna moved into Ethan's sprawling mansion on the hill, a palatial home with marble floors, an indoor pool, and a staff of 5. It was a far cry from her tiny one-bedroom apartment. At first, Anna felt like Cinderella in a castle, determined to be the perfect wife. She woke up early to make Ethan breakfast until she discovered he had a personal chef who already prepared his egg white omelette and green smoothies. She tried to help around the house, only to be politely waved off by the housekeeper. Anna began to feel useless in this shiny new life. So she poured her energy into caring for Ethan in little ways, laying out his suit for work, greeting him with a smile and a kiss when he came home, asking about his day. She was eager to prove she belonged by his side. Ethan, however, was growing distant. With the wedding over and the high of victory subsided, the reality of the 6-month bargain loomed over him. He had won the bet's first phase, but now he had to make sure Anna stayed until the time was up. That meant keeping her reasonably happy, or at least convinced that he loved her, while managing his own impatience. At the office, he kept up the facade of a blissful newlywed, but privately, he told himself he was just biding time. At home, small cracks in Ethan's Prince Charming persona began to show. One morning, Anna surprised him with homemade blueberry muffins, remembering they were his favourite from a story he had once told her. Ethan barely glanced at them. "These look great," he said flatly, "but my trainer has me on a strict diet. No carbs." He pushed the plate aside and left for work, leaving Anna feeling foolish and rejected. Determined to please her husband, Anna took his comment to heart. She signed up for a membership at a high-end gym that one of Ethan's friends recommended. The fees for 1 month cost more than her old rent. Every day she dutifully attended spin classes and Pilates, hoping to slim down and make Ethan proud. She even hired a personal trainer, using some of the generous monthly allowance Ethan provided her. Each evening she'd return home exhausted, only to find Ethan absorbed in his laptop or on phone calls. He would nod distractedly as she recounted her workout progress or a new healthy recipe she tried, offering little more than a Socially, things were even more challenging. Ethan began taking Anna to upscale business dinners and charity galas, appearances a man in his position was expected to make with his wife. Before each event, he had his stylist pick out a gown for Anna, often in dark colours or designs meant to conceal her figure. "We want you looking your best," he would say, adjusting her hair or jewellery like she was a doll. His tone was polite, but Anna sometimes felt more like an accessory than a partner. At one particularly lavish gala, the weight of Ethan's subtle control truly hit her. They arrived at a glittering hotel ballroom filled with chandeliers and champagne. Ethan kept a firm grip on Anna's arm as they circulated, greeting his acquaintances. When she tried to join in the conversation here and there, Ethan gently steered her away. "Why don't you get yourself a drink, hun?" he suggested with a tense smile, effectively dismissing her. Anna obediently wandered to the bar. No sooner had she left his side than she overheard 2 impeccably dressed socialites whispering nearby, not realizing she could hear. "Did you see Ethan's wife? I still can't believe he married that," one woman snickered. "I give it 6 months tops. She's clearly not his usual type," another responded. Anna's face burned with shame. She fought back tears and fled to a quiet corner with her drink. Through the crowd, she spotted Ethan laughing with a model-esque investor. He looked completely in his element, charming and confident, while Anna felt like an outcast at her own husband's side. Later that night in the limo home, Anna mustered the courage to bring up what happened. She spoke softly, not wanting to sound accusatory. "Ethan, I noticed you hardly introduced me to anyone tonight, and some people were saying cruel things about me, about us. Her voice trembled on the last part. Ethan sighed, loosening his tie. You're imagining it, he said curtly, staring out the window. People are just surprised. They'll get used to you in time. He didn't offer comfort or even ask what was said. Instead, after a moment, he added, Next event, maybe listen more and talk less. We need to ease you into these circles. Anna felt a lump in her throat. Ease me in, she echoed quietly. Ethan glanced at her and saw her wounded expression. He softened his tone slightly, reaching over to squeeze her hand. Look, Anna, I just mean it's a different world. I want people to see what I see in you, but it might take time, okay? Trust me, I'm doing this for us. Anna managed a small nod and forced a smile, but inside her heart ached. That night, Ethan stayed up late in his home office, avoiding their bedroom. Anna lay awake in the huge bed, staring at the ceiling. Was it me, she wondered? Am I not good enough for him, even after all I've done? She resolved to try even harder. She would become the polished wife Ethan needed. While Anna blamed herself, Ethan was grappling with unexpected frustration. The truth was, hearing those socialites mock Anna had bothered him. At the gala, when an associate had joked under his breath, trading in style for substance, Ethan, with a wink, Ethan felt a flash of anger on Anna's behalf, a reaction that surprised him. He had quickly brushed it off with a forced laugh at the time, but later in the limo, hearing Anna's shaky voice, something twisted uncomfortably inside him. Instead of acknowledging that feeling, he pushed it and her away. In the days that followed, the household staff noticed the tension. Mrs. Alvarez, the kindly housekeeper, often found Anna quietly crying in the afternoons when Ethan was at work. She would gently pat Anna's hand and say, "Marriage can be hard, dear. Give it time." Anna would wipe her tears and thank her, clinging to any hope that Ethan's heart might warm again. From the outside, the Walkers looked like the perfect power couple, the charming billionaire and his devoted wife. But behind closed doors, both were silently suffering in a marriage built on half-truths and hidden motives. Ethan kept reminding himself, just a few more months, don't get attached. Yet that mantra was becoming less convincing each day. As spring bloomed outside the mansion walls, small moments of warmth began to thaw the icy distance between Ethan and Anna. One chilly evening, Ethan came home later than usual, looking pale and exhausted. He brushed off Anna's concerned questions with a muttered, "Just a headache." But by midnight he was burning with fever and shivering under layers of blankets. Anna sprang into action. She placed a cool washcloth on his forehead, brewed herbal tea, and sat by his side through the long hours of the night. Each time he stirred or moaned in discomfort, she was there, whispering soothing words and checking his temperature. Through a feverish haze, Ethan felt a gentle hand on his brow and heard Anna humming a soft lullaby, the same tune her mother used to sing to her when she was ill as a child. He drifted in and out of sleep, each time finding Anna's caring eyes watching over him. By dawn, his fever broke. When Ethan fully awoke, weak but lucid, he saw Anna slumped asleep in a chair by the bed, still in her robe, the first light of morning touching her tear-stained face. She had worried over him all night. An unfamiliar tenderness spread through Ethan's chest. He quietly reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her face. She stayed up all night. For me. In that moment, something genuine cracked through his hardened facade. Gratitude. And perhaps even affection. Later, after convincing Anna to lie down and rest, she refused to leave his side until he insisted he felt better. Ethan caught himself smiling. Not the practiced smile of his should. Another incident further stirred Ethan's heart. One Saturday, he noticed Anna loading up the trunk of her car with boxes. "What's all this?" he asked, curious. Anna jumped, not expecting him to be home, and looked almost guilty, as if caught doing something wrong. "Oh, these are just some clothes and supplies I gathered," she explained. "I volunteer on weekends at a local women's shelter. I thought maybe some of the ladies could use these." She shrugged like it was no big deal. Ethan was taken aback. He had donated plenty of money to charities for tax breaks and PR, but he'd never actually gone to a shelter, much less spent personal time helping people directly. "You do this every weekend?" he asked. "Not every weekend," Anna said, flushing. "Just whenever I can. These women, they've been through a lot. I know what it feels like to be looked down on. If I can help them even a little, it feels worth it." She hesitated, then added quickly, "I'm sorry I didn't mention it. I know I should have cleared it with you, using the car and all." Ethan felt a pang of guilt. She was so considerate that she thought he'd object to her using the car for something so kind-hearted. "No, don't apologize," he replied, and to his own surprise he found himself saying, "Let me come with you. I'll help deliver the boxes." Anna looked surprised. "Really? You want to come?" He did. That morning at the shelter, Ethan watched from the doorway as Anna handed out the clothes and toiletries she'd collected. She greeted each woman with a hug or a kind word, as if they were dear friends rather than strangers in need. When a little boy, clinging to his weary mother, let out a cough, Anna was quick to kneel down and offer him a homemade oatmeal cookie from her purse, earning a small, shy smile from the child. Ethan's heart constricted at the sight. In those moments, Anna shone with a beauty that had nothing to do with glamour or appearances. It was her pure, compassionate spirit. On the drive home, Ethan was quiet. Anna worried that he was upset about spending their Saturday morning in a run-down shelter, but in truth, Ethan was lost in thought. He recalled the countless shallow events he'd attended, the vapid women he'd dated who only cared about status and looks. Not one of them would have spent their Saturday morning comforting battered women and playing with their children. "Anna is remarkable," he found himself thinking, "and I don't deserve her." That afternoon, back at home, Ethan thanked Anna for letting him tag along. She gave him a warm, perplexed smile. "Of course. Thank you for helping." Impulsively, Ethan added, "Maybe we could do something more for the shelter. I could sponsor a renovation or fund meals for everyone for a year, whatever you think they need." Anna was stunned by the offer and then threw her arms around Ethan. "That would be incredible, thank you," she exclaimed. Ethan stiffened momentarily in her embrace, unaccustomed to giving without an ulterior motive. But as he felt her gratitude and saw the joy lighting up her face, he slowly relaxed and hugged her back, closing his eyes. A strange contentment washed over him. Holding Anna like this, without pretense or agenda, felt right. As days turned into weeks, Ethan found himself seeking out Anna's company more and more. He started coming home earlier, surprised at how much he looked forward to their quiet dinners and evening strolls in the garden. They laughed often, real laughter, at her silly anecdotes or his dry, witty remarks. Ethan discovered Anna had a playful, sarcastic streak that matched his own, something he would have never learned in the shallow early days of their relationship. Sometimes he'd catch himself simply watching her as she read on the couch, marvelling at how at peace he felt in her presence. One night, over a simple dinner of pasta that they cooked together, to the shock of the personal chef whom Ethan gave the night off, Ethan realized with a jolt that the warm feeling blooming in his chest was happiness, genuine happiness, the kind he'd never truly felt in his high-powered, materialistic life. It scared him a little. This wasn't part of the plan. Lying in bed that night with Anna asleep against his shoulder, Ethan stared at her face in the dim light. He gently traced the outline of her cheek with his thumb, marvelling at how dear she had become to him. He whispered so quietly that she didn't stir. "What have you done to me, Anna?" because the arrogant millionaire who thought love was just a transaction was now undeniably, hopelessly, falling in love with his own wife. For a while, it truly seemed as if Ethan and Anna were on the path to a genuine happily ever after, but life has a way of unearthing secrets at the worst possible moment. The 6-month mark of their marriage was fast approaching, a fact that hadn't escaped Derek's notice. Derek had grown increasingly skeptical of Ethan's shifting priorities. His friend seemed downright smitten with Anna, an outcome Derek had never predicted. It irked him more than he cared to admit. In Derek's eyes, the bet had been a joke meant to make Ethan eat his words, not a love story. And so, Derek decided it was time to remind Ethan of their deal and perhaps shatter the fantasy before it cost him $1 million and a friend to a life he found incomprehensible. One warm afternoon, Derek dropped by the Walker mansion unannounced. Anna greeted him cheerfully at the door, oblivious to the storm that was about to break. "Ethan's in his study," she said. "He'll be happy to see you. Can I get you something to drink, Derek?" Derek mustered a polite smile. "No, thank you, Anna." As she went to fetch Ethan, Derek's gaze followed her. He felt a pang, whether of guilt or annoyance, he wasn't sure. Ethan was surprised but pleased to see Derek. It had been a while since they'd spent time together. He ushered Derek onto the back patio, where they could talk privately. Anna stayed inside to give them space. Derek wasted no time with pleasantries. "So, how's married life treating you, buddy?" he asked, a thin edge in his voice. Ethan smiled instinctively at the mention of married life. "Honestly, better than I expected," he said. The admission was earnest, slipping out before he could think better of it. Derek raised an eyebrow. "Better than expected? Huh, you're really committing to the bit, I see." Ethan's smile faded. He realized where this was going. "Derek, about that." But Derek barreled on. "The 6 months are almost up. I gotta hand it to you, Ethan. You pulled it off. I didn't think you'd last." He let out a short, sharp laugh. "I suppose you'll be wanting your payout soon. $1 million for marrying the kind of woman you used to ridicule." Ethan flinched at Derek's crass phrasing. "Keep your money," he said quietly. "I don't want it." Derek blinked. "What are you talking about? You want the bet fair and square. Another week or so and it's official." He peered at Ethan and saw something that unsettled him. Sincerity. "Unless, don't tell me you actually care about her." Ethan's jaw tightened. "She's my wife, Derek, and she's a wonderful person. This whole thing," he gestured vaguely, face twisted with regret, "was stupid. I was stupid. I'm not going to hurt her. In fact, I'm planning to tell her the truth. I should have done it long ago." Derek stared at him as if he'd sprouted the second head. "Are you insane? If you tell her about the bet, she'll leave you. Then you'd lose everything, her and the bet." "I don't care about the bet," Ethan snapped, rising from his seat. "I'll wire you the money tonight if you want, but I'm done lying to her." Inside the house, Anna had just finished preparing a tray of iced tea and snacks, thinking it would be nice to surprise the two friends. As she approached the slightly ajar patio door, she heard raised voices. Curious, she paused just out of sight to avoid interrupting. "What exactly are you going to tell her, Ethan?" Derek's voice was harsh. "That you only asked her out as a dare? That you married her to win $1 million? That every kiss, every promise was part of some sick game you and I cooked up? Be realistic." Anna's heart stopped. Her hand tightened around the tray she was carrying. A dare. $1 million. Every promise was part of some game. The iced tea pitcher trembled in her grasp as Derek's words sank in like daggers. On the patio, Ethan ran a hand through his hair, anguish on his face. "I'll beg her forgiveness. I'll do whatever it takes. I love her, Derek." Anna felt the world tilt beneath her feet. Love? Was any of this real? A vision blurred with tears as Derek's sneering rebuttal hit her ears. "Love? You? Look at yourself. 6 months ago, you wouldn't even give a woman like Anna a second glance. Don't pretend this is some fairy tale. You had a point to prove, and you proved it. Take the win and move on, man. Ethan's voice turned icy. If you don't leave right now, Derek, I swear. He never finished the threat. At that moment, the patio door swung open, and there stood Anna. The tray in her hands rattled, glasses toppling and shattering on the stone tiles. She was shaking violently. Both men froze, colour draining from their faces. Anna, Ethan breathed, his worst fear coming true in an instant. Anna looked from Ethan to Derek, pieces of the conversation she'd just overheard swirling in her mind like shards of broken glass. Her voice came out small and broken. Tell me it's not true. She stared at Ethan, eyes. Ethan stepped toward her, panic in his eyes. Anna, She put up a hand, stopping him, even as her whole body quivered with hurt. A bet, she whispered, choking on the words. Our marriage was a bet? Ethan felt his throat close up. This was exactly what he had feared, and yet he had walked right into it. It started that way, he managed hoarsely, his own eyes shining with tears now. But it's not what you think, not anymore. Anna, I swear I love... Don't! She almost screamed the word, her anguish transforming into fury. Don't say you love me, she cried. Just don't! Not one more lie. Derek, looking profoundly uncomfortable now, muttered, I should go, and swiftly slipped around Anna, disappearing through the house. Neither Ethan nor Anna paid him any attention. Anna's shoulders trembled as she wrapped her arms around herself as if trying to hold herself together. Her beautiful face was a storm of pain, betrayal, and disbelief. All this time, she said bitterly, voice cracking, every sweet word, every kiss, our wedding vows, it was all just you trying to win a damned wager. Ethan felt like a monster. Anna, I was an idiot. But first, yes, it was a bet. But then I fell in love with you, truly, deeply. That's the truth now, I swear. She let out a hollow, heartbroken laugh that made Ethan flinch. The truth. You wouldn't know truth if it hit you in the face, Ethan. Her tears flowed freely. You let me believe this was real. You let me think I finally found someone who loved me for me. Her voice broke. Do you have any idea how worthless you made me feel sometimes? And I kept trying because I thought I was the problem. All the while, you were just playing some game. He reached for her hand, desperate, eyes red. Please, Anna, just listen. Yes, I was a shallow, cruel jerk. I won't defend it. But you changed me. You showed me what real love is. I was going to tell you everything because I can't live with this lie. Anna yanked her hand away as if his touch burned. She drew a shaky breath, wiping her wet cheeks. Through the pain, a steely resolve began to harden in her eyes. You know what hurts the most, Ethan? You made me believe in fairy tales when all I was to you was the punchline of a joke. With that, she shakily pulled off her wedding ring. Ethan watched in devastation as she set it on the patio table between them. Her voice fell to a devastated whisper. I'm done being a pawn in your games. Ethan's voice cracked, raw with tears. Anna, please. But Anna turned and ran through the house. Ethan followed, begging, his vision blurred by tears. She grabbed her purse and keys from the foyer. I can't stay here, she said in a strangled voice. I can't even look at you. The front door slammed behind her. Ethan stumbled onto the porch just in time to see Anna's car speeding away into the dusk. He stood there, chest heaving, a hollow roar in his ears. In the silence that followed, his eyes fell to the object Anna had left behind. There on the patio table sat the wedding ring, glinting sadly in the fading sunlight. The truth was laid bare. Ethan hadn't just lost a bet, he had lost the woman he loved. The days that followed were the darkest of Ethan's life. The mansion felt emptier than ever without Anna's laughter in the halls. A floral scent still lingered on her pillow, and every corner of the house reminded him of her. The kitchen where they danced while cooking, the garden bench where they'd shared midnight talks. Ethan reached out repeatedly, dozens of apologetic texts and tearful voicemails, but Anna offered no reply. She had vanished from his daily life as swiftly as she'd entered it. In reality, Anna had gone to stay with a close friend in her old neighborhood. When Ethan showed up there once, frantic and begging to see her, the friend firmly told him that Anna wasn't ready and that he needed to leave her alone. It tore him apart, but he understood. He'd done enough damage. Still, Ethan refused to give up. He knew he had to make amends in a way that went beyond words. He had to prove to Anna that his love was real, that he was truly sorry. The first thing he did was sever ties with Derek, the friend whose taunt had set this catastrophe in motion. In a heated phone call, Ethan told Derek he neither wanted nor would accept the $1 million. In fact, he'd already donated every cent of it to the women's shelter Anna cared about, in her name. When Derek responded with stunned silence and a half-choke, "You've really changed, man," Ethan simply said, "Yes, I have," and hung up. It was an overdue chapter of his life being closed. Next, Ethan turned his attention to something more positive, supporting Anna's long-held dream. He remembered the way her eyes sparkled whenever she talked about opening a bakery. Through a realtor contact, he found a charming little bake shop for sale on a cozy neighborhood street, exactly the kind of place Anna had envisioned. Within days, he purchased it. Ethan spent every evening renovating the space with a small crew. He painted the walls a soft, cheerful blue, her favorite color, and even stenciled a little logo of a cupcake and rolling pin on the front window. He hung a wooden sign above the door that read, "Anna's Little Bakery." Crucially, he kept his name off all the paperwork. If Anna chose to accept it, the shop would be 100% hers. If she didn't, well, at least he'd know he'd tried to give her something she loved. All the while, Ethan poured his heart onto paper. Night after night, he sat at his desk, struggling to find the right words for Anna. He ended up writing a letter spanning several pages, raw, honest, and filled with remorse. In it, he told her how meeting her had changed him in ways he never thought possible, how her kindness made him want to be a better man, how he woke up every day hating himself for what he did to her, and that even if she never saw him again, he would love her for the rest of his life. He promised that whether or not she forgave him, he would keep being the man she helped him become. A month passed with no contact. Anna needed time to heal and to decide if she could ever trust him again. She returned to volunteering at the shelter and tried to resume her old routines, though her heart felt like a shattered piece of glass. The women at the shelter noticed her sadness, but also her strength. Even when hurting, Anna was there for others. Still at night, alone on her friend's couch, Anna silently wept, clutching a pillow as she relived every moment with Ethan. Despite her anger and hurt, she missed him, his laughter, his warmth, the way he had started to genuinely care for her. That was the cruelest part. She missed the man she thought he was, the man he had begun to be, and she wondered if any of that had been real. One late afternoon, Anna arrived at the women's shelter to find an unusual buzz of excitement. The drab common room was decorated with clusters of balloons and a big banner that read, "Thank you, Anna." Confused, Anna set down the casserole dish she'd brought for dinner and was immediately surrounded by the women and children she'd been helping. Little Tommy, a boy who had grown attached to her, tugged on her sleeve and thrust a crayon-scribbled card into her hands. In wobbly letters it read, "Thank you, Miss Anna. Love, Tommy." Anna's eyes welled up. One of the women gently guided her to a chair. The shelter director cleared her throat, smiling broadly. "This is for you, Anna," she announced. "An anonymous donor heard how amazing you are and has provided funding for an entire year of this shelter's operations in your honor." Stunned, Anna brought a hand to her mouth. The room erupted in applause and grateful cheers, many of the women chiming in with personal thanks. Anna's tears fell freely now, tears of surprise and gratitude. She knew in her heart who that anonymous donor was. Only one person would have both the means and the motive to do this. That evening, as the sun set, Anna left the shelter with her emotions in turmoil. She clutched little Tommy's thank you card as she walked out into the cool air, and there, waiting by his car on the curb, was Ethan. He stood up straight as soon as he saw her, wringing his hands nervously. He looked thinner and pale, with dark circles under his eyes, as if he hadn't slept in weeks. Anna's footsteps faltered. Her first instinct was to turn back, but something in Ethan's posture stopped her. He looked utterly vulnerable, not the confident man she once knew. Summoning her courage, Anna approached him slowly, her face unreadable. Ethan's voice was soft and unsteady as he spoke. I wasn't sure I'd see you here. I promise I wasn't trying to ambush you." He gestured to a paper bag at his feet. "I've been dropping off meals for the shelter, just in case you came by. I would have left if you didn't want me here." Anna looked at the bag of takeout containers labelled with the local deli's logo, her favourite comfort foods. It tugged at her heart. She cleared her throat, trying to stay composed. "I heard about the shelter donation," she said quietly. Ethan straightened a bit, anxiety written all over his face. That wasn't... I didn't do it to show off or to try and buy your forgiveness," he said quickly. I wanted to help, because it's important to you. You inspire me to do the right thing, Anna." They stood a few feet apart under the streetlight, the silence between them heavy with unspoken feelings. Anna then noticed something peeking from Ethan's coat pocket, a familiar small velvet ring box, and in his hand a folded stack of papers that looked like letters. Her breath caught. Ethan followed her gaze and swallowed hard. Voice trembling, he held the papers out to her. "I have so much I need to say," he said, "and I wrote it all down because I wasn't sure I could get it out right." Anna hesitantly accepted the letter, her fingers brushing his for a brief moment. The contact sent a jolt through both of them. She began unfolding the pages, but Ethan gently continued. "Actually, maybe I should just tell you while I have the courage." To Anna's astonishment, Ethan slowly got down on one knee in front of her. Her heart lurched. This was how he had proposed months ago, but now there was no audience, no grand setup, just the two of them on a quiet street. Ethan's eyes brimmed with tears as he looked up at her. "Anna," he began, voice cracking with emotion, "I am so sorry. Sorry for the unspeakable hurt I caused you. Meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to me, and I ruined it with my lies. You gave me your heart, and I broke it. I might not deserve your forgiveness, but I need to try to earn it anyway." Tears rolled down Anna's cheeks, her defences wavering as Ethan poured out his heart. "You taught me what love really means," Ethan continued, swallowing against the lump in his throat. "Patience, kindness, putting someone else before yourself. I learned all that from you. You showed me that beauty isn't about appearances. It's about the heart. I was a fool who couldn't see it at first." His voice fell to a whisper. "But I see it now. I see you, Anna. I love you with every fibre of my being. Not a day has gone by that I haven't regretted what I did. I will spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to you, if you let me." With trembling fingers, Ethan took the ring box from his pocket and opened it, revealing the very ring she had left behind on their patio table. It gleamed softly. "This was yours, and it always should be," he said tenderly. "I'm asking you, not as part of a bet or out of pride or anything like that, but from my heart. Will you marry me? Again? Will you give us, another chance to do it right, this time for real?" For a long moment Anna couldn't speak. The world had narrowed to the man kneeling in front of her and the sincere words hanging in the air. She had dreamed of him saying these things so many times in the past weeks, but she was afraid to trust those words now. Her eyes searched his face, the face she loved, for any sign of deceit. All she saw was earnest fear and hope. Gently, Anna reached down and placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, motioning for him to stand. He obeyed, rising to his feet, still holding his breath. She took a small step closer, until she was near enough to feel the warmth of him. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice shaky, but steadying with each word. "You broke my heart." Her frankness made him shut his eyes in pain, a tear escaping down his cheek. But he nodded. He knew. "I was so hurt and so angry," Anna continued. "I never thought I could trust you again." Ethan's shoulders sagged, despair threatening to overwhelm him. But then Anna gently cupped his face with her hands, making his eyes fly open in surprise. Her touch was soft, and he leaned into it involuntarily. "People can change," Anna said, her tone softening, tears shining in her eyes. "You've shown me that. You changed me too. You made me realize I deserve to be loved fully. And I can see the man you're trying to become." She managed a tiny, trembling smile. I still love you, Ethan. I never really stopped." Ethan's breath caught. You still love me?" he asked in a broken whisper, scarcely believing what he heard. Anna nodded, a fresh tear spilling down her face. "I do. That doesn't mean everything's just okay now. It will take time to heal and for me to trust you completely again. I can't just forget what happened." She took a deep breath. "But I believe you, that your feelings are real, and I believe in the man I've seen these past months. I want to try, if you're willing to be patient with me." A relieved sob burst from Ethan's chest. "Oh, Anna," he cried softly, pulling her into his arms. She didn't resist. She wrapped her arms around him as well, burying her face against his shoulder as they both shook with quiet sobs. On that moonlit sidewalk they held each other tightly, as if afraid to let go, both of them crying tears of release, of forgiveness, of hope, of love regained. After a long, heartfelt embrace, Ethan gently pulled back just enough to take Anna's left hand. With utmost care, he slid the engagement ring back onto her finger. It fit perfectly, glinting under the streetlights like it was always meant to be there. Anna looked down at the ring, then up at Ethan, her eyes full of cautious joy. She even managed a watery, joking sniffle. "You know," she said, "you still owe me a proper fairy tale." Ethan laughed through his tears, relief and joy washing over him in waves. He pressed his forehead to hers and replied tenderly, "No, let's not have a fairy tale. Let's have something real, something even better." In the weeks that followed, Ethan and Anna took things slowly. They sought couples counseling to rebuild trust and communication from the ground up. Ethan held nothing back. He answered every question Anna had about the bet and their early relationship, no matter how uncomfortable, because he knew honesty was their only path forward. It was hard, painful work, but they faced it together. True to his promise, Ethan made changes in his life beyond just words. He formally resigned from the Titan Club and distanced himself from toxic friends. Instead, he spent more time with people who valued humility and kindness, some of them new friends he met through Anna and the shelter, others from charitable boards he joined. He even found an unlikely friend in Mrs. Alvarez, the housekeeper, who, upon seeing Ethan's devotion to winning back Anna, offered him heartfelt advice like a concerned aunt. When Ethan finally unveiled Anna's little bakery to her, complete with a ribbon cutting on a sunny morning, Anna was overwhelmed. She playfully scolded him for being too grand, but could not hide her delight. With Ethan's steadfast support and frequent taste testing of her recipes, Anna's bakery quickly became a neighborhood favorite. She made sure to employ women from the shelter who needed a second chance, a choice that made Ethan beam with pride. In the eyes of society, the narrative around Ethan and Anna shifted dramatically. The same gossiping guests who had once whispered behind Anna's back at parties now saw a different story, a devoted husband, utterly in love with his wife. At a charity gala a year later, one they attended arm in arm with Anna glowing in a dress of her own choosing, a few of Ethan's former acquaintances awkwardly apologized to Anna for underestimating her. One even admitted, "I've never seen Ethan this happy." Anna, gracious as ever, simply smiled and squeezed Ethan's hand, knowing their happiness was the quiet, genuine kind that didn't need outside approval. Their journey was far from the perfect fairy tale Anna once imagined. It was more challenging, but also more rewarding, because it was real. Together, they transformed a cynical bet into a redemptive love, proving that change is possible when humility and love take root. Closing message. Sometimes life tests our hearts in unexpected ways. Ethan set out to win a bet, but instead he won a love that transformed him from the inside out. He learned that true love is never a game. It's sincere, selfless, and built on honesty. Anna found the strength to forgive, showing that people can change when they truly repent and work to make things right. In the end, an arrogant millionaire and the woman he once dismissed as not his type proved that love can grow from the most unlikely circumstances. They remind us that genuine respect, kindness, and acceptance are the foundation of any lasting relationship. No matter our size, status, or past mistakes, we all deserve love and respect. When pride is set aside for love, the results can indeed leave us speechless.